Hi, I am Mrs. Gregoire and I teach early U.S. history here at Oberon Middle School. This video is to give parents information from curriculum night in case they weren't able to attend. One of the first things we went over was the curriculum here at Oberon for 8th grade early U.S. history. The first unit is government. We're actually getting ready to finish up that unit. We've got about another week. We'll have their first test next week. The next unit is westward expansion. That'll take us till Christmas break. After Christmas break, we'll pick up with the Civil War. That'll take us to spring break. And after spring break, we'll pick up with Reconstruction, Immigration, and Industrialization. One of the things we talked about tonight was what an average day would look like for your student in my class. Every period starts off with a warm-up. That's about 5 minutes, and that's just to generate some thinking and get them going for the day. There might be a question I want them to ask or an activity I want them to complete to just kind of start thinking about the topic that we're going to be covering that day. Then we're going to move into teacher-directed time. So this is teacher instruction. This is my direct instructional time to students. It lasts about 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes I go over background information, instructions, show them a video, anything along those lines that they need for today's activity. Then the bulk of our time is independent work time. Please understand that this is not time that your students will be sitting at their desk taking notes while I stand at the front of the room. Independent work time is where students are actually doing something where they are doing the learning. So they are doing an activity, they are demonstrating their learning, they are learning the information. And then finally, at the end of the period is our closure. It's about 5 minutes. We wrap up our learning. There might be an exit ticket or an activity along something along the lines to wrap up our learning, show me what they know, and to figure out what I need to work on for the next day. One of the things we also talked about tonight was how much students will use their device in my classroom. And really the answer is every single day and all period. Everything from the beginning of the warm-up to the end at the closure. During the warm-up, they might answer a question or complete some vocabulary in Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Drawings. You will notice that we use a lot of Google in my classroom. Every student has a Google account, and it's really important that students know how to use their Google Drive. During independent work time, they might be completing a note catcher or completing a short constructed response, also in Google Docs. Reading sources are all in Schoology and they're all digital. We do not have a history textbook here at Oberon, so we use Newsela, and sometimes I just upload an Adobe PDF for them to read. But again, it's digital and it will be on their device. They'll spend a bulk of their time in independent work time demonstrating their understanding, and sometimes that's done visually. There's all sorts of different programs from Padlet to ThingLink to WeVideo, and you can see the list there. Even during the closure at the end of the period, we're still using our devices. I might have them do a Schoology quiz, a Google form, something in Plickers or even Kahoot. So I really encourage students to make sure that they have a device every single day, that their device is charged, that they bring their charger if they need it, to set up a routine at night to make sure their device is charged, because again, they will need their device every single day. It's extremely difficult to do the work in my classroom if they don't have a device. The other thing we went over tonight was my teacher website. There's a couple of different ways you can find it. One is to click on this link. The other is to go into the Oberon website. If you go to the Oberon website under staff and staff contacts, you will find a link that takes you directly to my website. And on this page, there's some really important information. The first of it is just kind of some background information on what we're going to be doing for the week. I do this every single week. Usually on Sunday or Monday, but it does show everything we're going to be doing this week. It's just a brief overview. And then as you kind of look here, you'll see that it's broken down day by day. I really encourage students to use this if they are absent because they can see exactly what they missed. So for example, if they were absent today on Thursday, they can see that we did creating a law step 2. They can then go directly into Schoology, find the folder that says creating a law, and find step 2 to see exactly what we did. I also encourage parents to take a look at this so you can see what your child's doing every day and have those conversations with them. For example, if it was Monday and they came home from school, you could say, "Hey, I noticed that you guys did branches of government today. Talk to me about what you did." You can even have them go into Schoology and show you exactly what they did. And probably the most important is you can see exactly when assignments are due, where they have to turn it in, and what time they have to turn it in by. Probably one of the most important pieces of software that we went over is Infinite Campus because that is where all the main grades are located. All assignments can be graded in Schoology, but understand that the most important place for you to look for their grades is in Infinite Campus. So if a student does an assignment in Schoology, yes, I can grade it in Schoology, but I transfer all those grades into Infinite Campus. Every student that completed assignment in Schoology will receive a grade in Infinite Campus. Even if they worked in a group, they will receive that grade in Infinite Campus. So that's where you want to go to check all of their main grades. If a student is missing an assignment, it will come up in big red letters here, just like this. This is a language arts example, but you can see how it works. It will say missing in red letters. Sometimes you can actually click where it says the assignment where it's in blue, and if you click on it, it'll pull up a little bit more detail. So the due date, when it was assigned, how many points it was worth, and sometimes I will leave comments that might help a student fix that grade. So if it's something really simple, such as they didn't share the document with me, or they accidentally submitted the wrong one, or something along those lines. If there are no comments like this one, it just means that your child didn't turn in the assignment, and they have until the lock deadline to get that turned in. And all students know what I mean by the lock deadline. So just to review with you guys, Infinite Campus is the place where you want to check their grades, their final grades. That is my main portal for recording grades. The next thing we went over is using Schoology, probably the next most important tool in our classroom, because that is where students use turn in all their assignments, and that's our main portal for getting work completed in my class. If students are, or you are looking for a topic or even a step, it's really simple. You just go into Schoology. Up at the top, you'll find courses, and you'll have a drop-down menu, and you'll see all their courses. This is my Schoology, so you can see all my courses. Theirs would look a little bit different, but you find their U.S. history class, and let's say you wanted to know the Bill of Rights. Okay, well, you click on the Bill of Rights, and it breaks it down step by step exactly what they needed to do. So let's say you wanted to know a little bit about or figure out how they created a poster. You would click directly on that, and it'll tell you everything you need to know to complete an assignment. The first thing they'll see is the instructions. They're definitely going to want to click on that, and it breaks down step by step exactly what they need to do to create that poster. If in the folder you see this tab right here, which basically looks like a little assignment with a pencil, that means they have an assignment they actually have to turn in. So it even has the due date. It was due Thursday, September 8th at 11:59 p.m. Please understand, I do not expect a student to stay up until 11:59, but that is what Schoology defaults to for the end of the day. So if they click on that, it will pull up a submissions tab, and right here it will say submit assignment. They click on that, and every student in my class should know how to submit an assignment. Please understand that sometimes we do partner work and group work, and I only have one person submit the assignment, but both students will receive a grade. So if it's showing up as missing in Schoology, it doesn't necessarily mean it's missing. It's just they were not the person to submit that assignment. Remember, all of the final grading is done in Infinite Campus. So in Infinite Campus, you want to look to see if an assignment is missing. If it's missing in Infinite Campus, then we need to have a conversation of what's going on. One of the great things about Schoology is the ability for me to actually grade an assignment right inside Schoology. Remember, that is not where their final grades are, but I can grade assignment in there before I transfer it over to Infinite Campus. So if a student has an assignment and they don't understand why they got a grade on it, they would go back into Schoology to get a little bit information. So this is a picture of campus again, and let's use this example right here of this D. And maybe the student's saying, well, why did they get a D? Or maybe as a parent, you're thinking, why did they get a D? What you can do is you can go back into Schoology to see what was going on. So when you go into Schoology, over on the left-hand side of their Schoology, you will see a tab called Grades. When you click on that, you'll see a tab right here that has 4 boxes. There's a blue, a green, and 2 grays. If you click on that, it's going to pull a rubric to show you exactly why I graded it and how I graded it. So you can see the breakdown here, and over here you can see a little bubble. That means I left a comment. If you hover over it, I know you can't see it right now, but it'll show comments for students to look at. It's important to remember that the only person who can see this rubric is the student who actually submitted it. So if Susie was working with Bobby and Bobby submitted the assignment, only Bobby is going to have access to this. So Bobby would have to share it with Susie and say, hey, let's look at this together to see what we did and how we did on it. The last thing we talked about tonight is some tips for being successful in my room. We kind of already talked about the fact that they will need a charged and working device every day. I've encouraged students to watch and honor deadlines to make sure they're turning things in on time. Also, check their grades often because that's where they're going to catch those missing assignments to make sure they get everything in by that lock deadline. After that lock deadline passes, there's nothing I can do. Keep an eye out for extra credit. The first extra credit assignment this trimester will actually start next week. Make sure that students are completing work when they are absent. I always tell students that just because they are absent doesn't mean that they necessarily get out of that assignment or of doing that work. I really encourage them to try every assignment. If they try, they'll actually be really, really successful in my class. But most importantly, don't rush. Slow down. Take in the learning. Enjoy this class. I think they're going to enjoy it and get a lot out of it. I know I haven't answered all of your questions tonight, so if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me. You can find my email there. You can also find it on our Oberon website.